With the release of today's issue number 1 in the new Star Wars comic series, we finally get to see the events that occurred immediately after Darth Vader revealed his true identity to Luke in episode 5 within the canon. Seeing Luke's thoughts and actions from his perspective, which really did begin to border upon the dark side. Although we'll focus on Luke here, the issue also provided a number of details in the larger Galactic Civil War, with the Empire hunting down the rebellion after Hoth, which will also form a significant part of the story for this new series. But with that, let's take a look at the first issue of the new Star Wars comic series. The issue opens with Luke sitting within the Millennium Falcon, clearly devastated from his confrontation with Darth Vader on Cloud City, replaying the events of Vader revealing he was his father over and over again. At the same time, with tensions still extremely high, Leia, Lando, and Chewbacca realized that their chance to save Han from Boba Fett was gone, meaning they'd have to rescue him at some other time, knowing they'd need to eventually confront Jabba the Hutt. After Luke learned what happened to Han, he was desperate to rescue him immediately, but Leia assured Luke they would eventually find him, instead asking Luke how he was and what happened on Cloud City. Luke didn't go into the specifics of the duel with Vader, explaining only that he reached out to Ben, to Obi-Wan, and he didn't receive an answer. As we'll see, it was this perceived abandonment and the hidden truth of Vader's true identity that would deeply affect Luke in the aftermath of episode 5. With Leia telling Luke that he would find his own path, she turned her attention back to the goals of the rebellion, understanding they needed to return to the rebel fleet, having been separated since the evacuation of Hoth. But as the Falcon entered hyperspace, it's revealed that the situation was even more dire for the rebellion than Leia could imagine. Revealing the rebel fleet's 4th Division at their mid-rim rendezvous point, the Empire hadn't just located them, but an attack was already underway, with the rebels being trapped between a star and 4 Star Destroyers, making a jump to hyperspace impossible. Orchestrating the Imperial operation was Commander Zara, commander of the Star Destroyer Tarkin's Will. As she watched a rebel capital ship explode, she learned that their blockade wasn't merely succeeding, but a second engagement near Malastare was also unfolding in favor of the Imperials as well. As the rebel 4th Division was looking for any way to break through the blockade, even Zara was dismayed when the Millennium Falcon emerged from hyperspace. Not knowing Vader's desire to capture Luke, who was on board, and focusing only on eliminating Leia, the commander ordered the ship be destroyed. As Luke and Leia ran to the ship's quad laser cannons to defend against the Imperial fleet's TIE fighters, Lando and Chewbacca realized that for the rebel fleet to escape, they didn't have to destroy an entire Star Destroyer, merely enough of the turbo laser batteries on one of the light cruisers, a far easier task. As they prepared for their attack run, with an explosion from one of the TIEs destroyed by Leia practically removing their forward shields, Luke began to get lost within Vader's reveal again, comparing Obi-Wan's words about his father to the reality uncovered by Vader. Combined with the frustration caused by the difficulty of operating the laser cannons as he was still recovering from his previous duel, Luke's emotions allowed him to tap into the Force and take command of the TIE fighters pursuing them, causing the TIEs to crash into each other and freeing Lando and Chewbacca to begin their attack run. As the Falcon began taking out the light cruiser's turbo lasers, Luke was left in shock at what he did, not revealing the part he played in the destruction of the TIEs. Now having a path in which to jump to lightspeed, the rebel fleet was able to escape, much to the horror of Commander Zara, who knew she would have to report the failure to Vader. The report went even worse than she could imagine, with Vader seeing no reason to view the operation favorably despite the successes at Malastare and the battle overseen by Zara. But even more, Vader reprimanded her for almost destroying the Millennium Falcon, with the Sith Lord simply saying there was someone on board who was significant to him. After telling the commander she was to locate and destroy the remainder of the rebel fleet, Vader dismissed her. After the rebels relocated to their backup rendezvous point, they determined that the Empire was able to find and ambush 2 separate rebel fleets at their secret rally points because they'd broken the rebellion's codes and were listening to their communications. Recognizing they couldn't warn the other rebel cells or risk revealing their locations, they were left wondering whether the other fleets understood the situation fully yet, with the potential being that they were all that remained of the rebellion. But the issue ends from the perspective of Luke, still trying to process where he fit after his duel with Vader. Having acknowledged that Obi-Wan hadn't answered him previously, he attempted to reach out to Yoda, admitting that he was lost and didn't know how to proceed, and while he could still use the Force, he no longer had his lightsaber. Therefore, he simply needed guidance of some kind. Again not receiving an answer from the Jedi, Luke became enraged, raising his arms as his emotions were powerful enough to crack the viewport behind him. Realizing he went too far, and after collecting himself again, he apologized to R2 and admitted that he believed that Ben and Yoda didn't want him to be a Jedi anymore. And in some ways, given what Vader revealed to him, Luke thought that it was best that he wasn't a Jedi. Even knowing that it was a path to the dark side through his lessons from Yoda, he couldn't help but be confused, angry, and afraid. Revealing to R2 that Vader was his father, Luke also concluded that Yoda and Ben had to have known the truth of Vader's real identity, and therefore, they both lied to him. But even more frightening for Luke, and the thing that worried him the most, was the thought that if Yoda and Ben didn't want him to be a Jedi, and if Vader being his father meant that he shouldn't be one, Luke couldn't comprehend what he was going to become if it wasn't a Jedi. So there we have it, Luke's thoughts and actions immediately after his confrontation with Vader in Episode 5. Thank you very much to all of the Patreon members of Star Wars Reading Club, as your support is so greatly appreciated. You can find all of our social media links and a link to our Star Wars gaming channel in the description below for updates and even more Star Wars content. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for possible Tarkin connections.